Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday morning. I'm Joseph Goodman, Goodman Games. I'm going to pass the baton. Actually, let's go to Matt to introduce himself and introduce our special guest star.
That's awesome. Yep. Matt never gets to go second. So this is big, really big. My name is Matt Hildebrand. I'm the art director for Goodman Games. And I get to work with artists since I'm the art director. And one of the artists is actually here in real life. This is Will McCausland. He phoning in from bright sunny Canada, and he's going to share some awesome art with us today. And Will, I'll let you do a little introduction and then pass it on to whoever you feel like giving it to.
Oh, well, hello, I'm Will McCausland. I've been a freelancer for Goodman Games for over 20 years. Hard to believe, but
Wow. It's been 20
yeah,
years.
yeah. I base things on my kid's age. So
Mm-hmm.
I just went to a 21st birthday last night.
Wow. Okay.
That's great.
Hard to believe.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Very cool. All right. So who gets the nod next, Will? Are you gonna give it to Chris? Give it to Mike?
Chris.
What do you? All right.
Okay. Hey, everybody, Chris Doyle. I am the director of 5e development and design. And you guys should be familiar with me, and I'm going to pass it on over to Mike next.
And last and least, it is me, Michael Curtis, Director of Product Development for Dungeon Crawl Classics and anything else that ends in CC. So there we go, or at least anything we produce that ends in CC. So, here we are yet again to talk about something that begins with DD. Oh, that would be Dungeon Denizens 2. So
Welcome, everybody. So we brought Will on today because Will's done, apparently 20 years worth of art, a whole lot of amazing art for Goodman Games over the years. But for this project, he not only did an illustrated amazing wraparound cover for the DCC core rulebook, which we'll get to in a bit, but he also illustrated, I don't know how many monsters for the book, and they're all amazing. And we were talking about which ones we should show off. He's got original art here. And for those of you who don't know, Goodman Games, we prefer art that's actually painted on canvas or board or paper or physical media. So Will's going to be showing you actual pieces of art, not just computer screens with digitally rendered art, which is pretty amazing. It's like a foreign concept to a lot of people. But I just figured, Will, maybe show us some of the amazing illustrations you've done. And Chris and Mike, maybe you can talk about the stats or the game abilities. I saw the picture for the tongue taker, which just creeped me out.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with the tongue taker. It's like gross in all the right ways for a monster book.
We've got quite a stack here of originals.
Wow.
So I work on a really thick acid-free paper, but it causes a bit of paper to curl a little bit once in a while, but it frames really nice. So yeah, let's do the tongue taker first. This is
oh my God. It's so creepy.
Yeah. Well, I think they start from something like this.
Yeah. No, actually, they create them and they summon those. So they actually grapple your target and they pry your mouth open and literally sever your tongue. And then they actually create those little tonguelings, those little guys that go with it. So
the starfish things.
Yeah.
It could be a chicken or egg situation, you know.
Could be.
Like, do tongue takers grow from tonguelings? Or if so, which came first? So then once they get a grip on that the old tongue of yours, so they want it because they got plans for it.
Yeah. It's crazy when they grapple you. They actually give you a taste in your mouth. Like you get this like extra sensory, like you taste something and it's like, if they're gonna basically beat you up, it's a terrible, awful taste and you like kind of retch. But if it's like, if they're trying to smooch you over or I don't know, like seduce you, why with something like that would seduce you, it could be a sweet taste, which is kind of creepy. It takes it to
like
a whole
strawberry shortcake or like key lime pie.
like strawberry shortcake. That's exactly what it is. Like rhubarb pie, like strawberry rhubarb pie.
There was a couple Saturdays, Saturday mornings after college where, I might have wrestled with a tongue taker the night before down at the bar. So, I woke up with some very interesting taste in my mouth,
That should be like the spin-off, like 6 varieties of tongue taker based on what you did last night and how you wake up,
Yeah.
Wait, so Will, one of the things I like about that image, which is so creepy, is the little bumps. If you can show it again so people get the little, like, I don't know what the scientific word for those tongue bumps is, but it's got all the little gross tongue bumps and the like saliva drippy stuff coming off. Like it is so visceral. When I looked at it, I was just like, ugh, it really captures the grotesquerie.
It does. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
The thing about art like this is that it's super fun to paint. The kids come in and see it and they go, "What the hell?" And then, but it's hard to sell as original because a lot of people don't want this up on their wall in their kitchen, right?
Right.
That's a good point. You got to sell this to it only works with a certain audience.
Yeah. Dragons and dryads and mermaids, you sell that stuff all day.
Nice. Nice.
You should have a special bid at your cons, which is like gross monsters, 20% off.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Do
Island
not
of
put in your
Misfit
kitchen.
monsters.
Yeah.
Yep. Cheap.
Which one's that?
Traveling now suggests that you could maybe take out a tongue taker with a tongue twister. Or maybe just a
Tabasco
big
sauce.
bottle of Tabasco sauce. Yeah.
Oh, and the
That is
answer
good.
to Joe's burning question, it's papillet, is what the little bump.
The little bumpy things.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Papillet. Okay.
Papillet.
Huh?
So,
That's
Papillet.
funny.
trying to elevate us here. So trying to.
Yeah.
We
It's all
appreciate
better.
it.
I want to chime in before we go to another piece of art here. This is a disgusting looking beast, that Will has brought to life and everything. But I wanted to say is that the real degenerates are the writers who came up with this in the first place. And we'll have to actually illustrate that. So artists have a bad rep for being, really, but in this case, it's all the text people to blame.
Well, when your kids come into your studio and see you painting something like that, do they have like a sense of pride at how weird their dad is? Or is it like an embarrassment? Like, I can't believe my dad paints this stuff for a living. Like, what does that conversation look like?
No, it inspires them, and I got a couple of them doing some pretty amazing art. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I've shown it a few times during the drinking draws for Avalon's art. Anyway,
It's
dragons
amazing.
are her thing.
Yep. But one of these days we're going to have her on a live stream. Will she's definitely got a future. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Well, she's draws with
awesome.
me where I was at her age. That's for sure. She's just turned 17. So.
Oh wow, that's great.
That's my youngest.
Actually, your
You have
youngest. Wow.
You have art like that hang around that cuts down the chance of boomerang kids. Once they're left to move around in the house, they're not going to come back.
Right.
You won't believe what my dad hung on the kitchen wall. I got to get out of this place.
I got to get the hell out of here.
Wait, so
that's
Chris
funny.
and Mike, somebody in the chat wants to know who was the writer who came up with the tongue taker. Do you guys remember offhand?
I'm pretty sure it's David Michael Williams, who,
Okay.
by the way, is working on the Flumph magic item book. Just to throw that out there to try and tie it all in together. We're going to talk about that later.
Magical,
Okay.
magical tongue piercings. That's
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
Us too.
So Will, show us. I think you also had the goblin spawn.
Oh, yeah,
Well, you
it's
had
one of
like
my favorites.
20 illustrations, but that one's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see, where am I?
This one was popular during the face off during the Monster Madness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's like one creature with multiple tentacles that
Yep.
are almost finger-like, but not quite. And each one of those, I mean, they're wearing clothes, right? They look like goblins, and they clothe
They look like goblins. They actually have like goblin attacks and everything. They're like basically like little faux goblins, and the thing buries itself. So you think you're gonna run into goblins. So you're like, oh, goblins, let's charge them. And you charge them, you get up there, and then that mouth starts going at you from under the ground. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is wild.
And Ant Lion versus the worst puppet show ever. I mean,
Yes. It's like finger puppet antlion. That's
Yes.
exactly it. Yeah.
And other goblins hate them because they've lost more than enough people. Like these weird white goblins that start popping up from behind a rock, like, hey, why did you come over here? They come over here, it doesn't work out so well, So
We've got candy. Mhm.
I mean, give this guy a van, and he'd be set. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
It's such a creepy creature. Like it's who came up with this one? Which writer? Do you remember off?
I believe that was Ben Hayward came up with that one,
Okay.
our editor on the book. So
Yeah, it's creepy.
yeah.
That is creepy.
Yeah, it was a blast to paint.
Yep.
That's really cool. People will be lining up to buy these after this. Will they'll see them in real life, and then eventually in the book, and they'll be reaching out.
That sure happens. Yeah.
That's
Like
great.
the day after, I've already had somebody after the cover for the DCC book.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, seriously? We just
Yeah.
publicized that like
Yeah.
a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's great. All right. We wanted to dive into at least one more, I think. Do you have one more there?
This thing.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Swamp Devil.
Swamp Devil. Man, that green fire is great.
Yeah. I was like, how do you paint green fire? Just
Mhm. I think it turned out amazing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's got a pretty creepy description just from the writer's brief too. It's like this thing's coming through, and imagine the green fire be reflecting off the swamp water, and just
Yep. And apparently this one's got a mimicry, so it uses mimicry to lure you deeper into the swamp, and then once you're too deep into the swamp, we don't hear from you again.
That's cool.
Is that in focus?
Yeah. It's not too bad. And Elena's putting them up on the live stream as well, so people can see in both cases.
Yeah, that one, someone might buy that one.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That might be a bathroom. That's probably a bathroom image, but
yeah, it's probably that could go in a bathroom.
Dorm room, bathroom. Yeah,
right.
Definitely not kitchen or dining room though.
Mobius Metroid, of course it sounds like a crying baby. It sounds like anything that'll get you, oh, I should go check that out, you know. Free candy, you know.
Yes. Sausages. Right above the toilet. Yeah, there you go.
Wait, so Will, tell us, you paint with such fine attention to detail. Do you use like really tiny brushes, or what's your technique?
I do. Yeah, 000 is as fine as you can go.
Wow.
But quite large angled brushes first, block it in, and then just
000, like one bristle. Is it like
the kind of stuff you'd use for painting miniatures? Really, I use the same brushes for that.
Actually, that's when you said that. I was like, back when I was painting 40K minis, I think it was a 0 or 00 that I used all the time. Like,
I think Army Painter, I think the name of that brush that they put out is called Insane Detail, or there's actually one below them which was called the Psycho. So you know, either 00 or 000.
See if I can hold this up here.
Wow. There's bristles at the end of that.
They're white. It's white Taclon.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, that's the finishing. Yeah, going. Yeah, very loose over. Very fine over very loose ground.
Nice.
Of course, for the next one, that's a different story. I use tiny ones for that too. But do you want to see that one?
Yeah.
Cover?
Yeah, let's jump over the cover. Right, we just talked about it a second ago.
Let's see if I can get some light on this without blowing it out.
Wow.
Is it in there?
That's awesome.
So there's an underdeep scene with all kinds of different creatures in there. Some recognizable and some otherwise. And we're starting to get some questions about media and time. What do you use, gouache or acrylic when it comes to? Yeah, is it all acrylic, Will? The monsters too?
Yes, although I've started using watercolors and really high-end colored pencil, then going with rubbing alcohol. If you brush that on to colored pencil, any colored pencil, it turns it into almost a watercolor or acrylic effect. And you can blend two colors together. Yeah, so
that's wild.
Here's the.
It's hard to see here, but like the scan, the gold, the treasure looks like you can see little coins. You know, like it's so detailed the way you painted it.
Yep.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's amazing.
That's nice and tight. Another question about how long did it take? How many hours are in that cover, Will? Do you have any idea?
Oh. this one we had to go back and forth so many times with this creature here and the floating thing, which I'm going to do ink drawings for and a stat. You guys need to stat them up.
Nice. Yeah.
And the harpy. So the drawing probably took about 20 hours of time just because we did so many changes on it.
Right.
Maybe.
And once you get the green light to start moving into paint, what about then? Is it twice as much? Is it 3 times as much?
One here, because I know it was a cover, maybe 40 to 60 hours. Just a couple of
Wow.
weeks we were
Wow.
at it. But sometimes you can knock them out in 2 days of great
Mhm.
painting, and when you just can't leave it alone, and you want to skip and rush through supper and come down, and
Right. That's cool.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
I'd be ashamed to part with it. It's been sitting here on my desk for a year.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I'd miss
Yep.
it when it's gone, but
Mhm.
can't
And that
can't
one, I
keep them
don't.
all.
Right, right. I don't know if we said out loud, but that is obviously a wraparound cover. So
Yeah.
that is front and back and spine. And you did some separate artwork that is just the DCC logo that we're going to use kind of superimposed in the right
Oh, yeah.
spots. But that's yeah, I think Elena's probably going to show what that might look like there. At least a mock-up of it, right? Doesn't exist yet, but it's going to exist in the future. But that, yeah, I can't wait to have that one on the shelf. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very honored to have done that for all these years of doing that. It was a fan or somebody said, "Hey, why don't you get Will to do one?" It's like Stefan.
There was
I
one of
know
your-
we've done,
Yeah.
I don't know how many DCC covers at this point. It's funny, in one of the streams, somebody was like, you should get Peter Mullen to do one. And like, we did like 6 years ago. So I think it's been so long that honestly, somehow I don't know why we never asked you to, but it was about time and you did an amazing job. And then we have to remember to remind people in 10 years, Will did do one.
Yeah, right.
Think that one out, because by then we'll be on to whatever, the 15th printing or the 20th printing or something. What are you counting, Mike? I can see you working really hard.
I'm trying to mentally go through how many other the variant printings that we've come through. Not not counting
There's a lot.
not counting like the leather ones, or I'm just I miss. Brad hasn't done one yet either, though.
Actually, you're right. We should ask Brad to do one.
so.
That's true.
Yeah, he's like the other one to the core, the core long term who hasn't done one yet. So
Yep.
And he has I actually have a Brad original on my wall here. He for DCC number like
DCC logo off.
Yeah.
well, no, I have Will's original with the DCC logo right here. I guess I should this if I don't break my wall. Yeah,
Floating.
This
It's
is-
like watching the weatherman.
there we go. Yeah, Will, that's the one you did a bazillion years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That's cool.
Rhonda the Rhinoceratops. And then I have one of Brad. Brad, he did this for some of the early DCCs, but his like watercolors have this like so vintage TSR look to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, but that'd be, I mean, not this image, but a version of that would make a cool cover.
Will, I think I know the answer to this because we've talked about it, but tell me about inspirations. One of the questions in the chat is, who were your inspirations when you started illustrating and painting?
Oh, well, when I was in high school, I used to race through exams just so we could flip the thing over and draw on the back. So like, I was always trying to get in trouble drawing on my desk. So, but from playing out, Redbox D&D, like Bill Willingham, probably for my inking work.
Yeah.
And then colors, Keith Parkinson, the late great. Yeah, but now that being exposed to the other Goodman Games artists, I see their stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, I'd like to do that or do this or
Yeah. Two good choices. We've talked at length about Willingham for sure. Yeah, it was great.
Just as economy of line, and I just always a lot of times when I have an ink for a while, I pull out a file of all the old artists, just to study it and get warmed up against. But if I'm coming from painting back to inking, it's about an hour to warm up for that. But and all the TSR greats too, Easily and Caldwell, Brom, of course. I always have all their books.
That's cool. Very cool. Someone else in the chat says we need a Rodney Matthews cover. Well, that's a horse of a different color, but that would be cool for sure.
I have for long I've been waiting for something that we Rodney would be applicable to, but that day hasn't. I'm a big
right.
Right.
There may come a time. Who knows?
There may come a time. Yeah, it'll have to be the right thing.
The day my Giants, dual album cover, judges screen finally comes.
Yes,
we'll have him do the exterior artwork.
Right. That's
perfect. I heard he's done like an album cover or two in his time, right?
True story.
Any day now. Any day now.
That's great. So I think you've done dozens of monsters so far, Will, and I bet you have a few more still to come. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know we're keeping you busy, but I think that you do have a few more that are on the way, which is great.
Yeah, I got this stack here. I'm not.
Nice. Secrets. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's
Yeah.
great.
These are top secret for now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love working on these. I'll have like 4 up on the drawing board, and I'll do, if I have a bit of color on one, I'll go and do the next that
Oh.
same, finish off the brush with it. Just to,
Mhm.
I don't always keep it, but a lot of times I'll just have to switch out
Yeah.
and redo it later on. But I just I'm not sure. Some of these creatures, this description is just text. Sometimes there's no color description, except for that green fire of the swamp.
Yeah,
That
green fire. Mhm.
Yeah.
But
We got another good question about does Will have total creative freedom when he gets commissioned? And if we're going to discuss monsters for the Dungeon Denizens 2 project, yes and no. I think routinely we get very descriptive descriptions from the authors who create these monsters. But I think at Goodman Games, one of the things we like is the creative push back and forth, right? It's not a top-down situation where the artists are told exactly what to draw. They're not just wrists for the other creative folks. I think it's inherent in Will's job. I mean, he's a visual problem solver. He can take what he is sent and maybe even plus it up a little bit, add a little something that wasn't in the brief, change coloration, make it a little more special. And I think that is what ends up, that's where the magic comes in, right? When creative forces kind of push against each other to make something even better. But that's me speaking. I don't know, Chris. How do your authors feel about giving artists creative freedom?
Yeah, no, I think the artists, the authors, they basically just send in sometimes a few sentences, and sometimes we'll go in and actually pull some additional things out, like the stat box or something that might illustrate, like if it wasn't specific that this is like a grappling creature or something like that. And we just provide that to the artist, and generally, almost every single time the artist comes back, usually blows our mind, and then we just like, and if we love it, we just run with it. And I mean, we've in the past we've even changed encounters and changed stats and monsters based on the artwork just being cooler. So it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, we want everything to be as cool as possible. So we might have tweaked some things here and there. Like we'll look at something and be like, oh wow, that's great, but it's got an armor class of 20, so it really wouldn't look like that. So we're like, well, let's just go in there and change the armor class. It's like, because the art looks amazing. So
Nice.
one thing I get, sometimes I get a really detailed brief, like a monster creature description to the author, but other times it'll be like, draw something from this page.
Yeah.
Cool from this page, especially like a 2-page dungeon delve or something. And then, because they got to read it all anyway, and then something just pops out in your mind, like, oh, that'll make a great scene.
Yep.
As being a player, tabletop player as well, something maybe you could even hold up real quick to the players at the table. Hey, this is what you guys see, and then not close enough they can see the stats, right? But that's fun because it's sort of a mystery or detective thing, like going into a document and finding what would make the best cover. I guess a lot of book cover artists would read the novel first before they would do the book jacket, just to pick a scene out or what descriptions of the characters. I love that. So it's a bit more time consuming, but I have my computer read my documents to me. Matt, you were asking about this. How do you get it to you? Just Adobe Acrobat, view, scroll down, read out loud, and click it again, and you can pause it. And it's got a robotic voice, but I don't hear that anymore. So, but that's how I go through those big adventures while I'm working on the previous one.
That's pretty cool. That's a great idea.
It's better than listening to the news these days. So,
yes. Can you set the voice, or is it always like
you probably could?
Voice?
I don't though. I think it's
we were on a road trip. Well, I have younger kids than you, but yeah, we were on a road trip and discovered you can change the voice on Siri. So we spent like 30 minutes in the car using unusual accents for Siri. So I don't know if you can do that with your computer voice, but it might be fun.
Funny.
Yeah. James Earl Jones for the whole trip.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun.
Yeah, Tulsa Doom.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, we have a couple other topics to get to, and I know I heard you have a busy day of painting monsters ahead. Lots to get to.
Yeah.
think
Anything else you want to show us or throw out there before we move on to some of the other topics?
Oh. Um,
One of these days we should do a studio
draw
tour. I mean,
every
just
day.
draw
Draw
every
every day.
day.
nice.
People
That's
always
good
ask
advice.
me about, oh, I wish I could draw. And it's like, if you can draw, this is something I always get a point across. Like, if you can draw a signature, your handwriting, your signature, that anyone else you've never met before, just can come along and they can read that, right? Like you have the hand-eye control already set in you to control that mechanism, right? And so I just tell people, you've already got it. You just got to draw it for an hour a day, but 1 year after that, if you draw an hour a day, like especially from reference or something, you'll be awesome.
Well, I think that's good advice, but you've obviously never seen me draw my
I
signature.
have seen your stuff.
Oh, okay.
I've seen your doodles.
Yes, you've definitely seen some doodles on the drink and draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, we have monsters and maps for Will to get to. So if we have other stuff to talk about, we can let Will go. I think we could have a Will show every week, but at least for the purposes of today.
At a later hour, though.
Yeah, it needs to be a later hour. Yep. Totally the
Thanks
case.
a lot, Will. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody,
Thank you, Will.
and we'll be back in a sec with other topics in just a sec, everybody. All right, everybody, we're back. Those backstage chaos, but we sorted it all out. Too many groupies and roadies getting in the way between us and our instruments.
Right. I think they were all for Will. They didn't care about us. They were
Right,
all
yes.
Will's roadies. Yeah.
Will, I love you, Will.
Yeah. I have something I need you to paint immediately.
All right, so our next topic in the world of Dungeon Denizens 2, we did for Dungeon Denizens 1 these really cool foil editions that were the limited edition crowdfunding versions. They have the bonus pages, and see if Zoom doesn't mess this up. It has a textured cover with foil and deboss. They turned out amazing. And kudos to Doug for drawing this, and then Matt for coming up with a really cool color concept here. But for those of you who got it, it's on, I think we called it reptile hide. It's on a textured material, and we have a bunch of options for textures for Dungeon Denizens 2. So we are going to talk you guys through, I'm grabbing my samples here, talk you guys through some of the options, and we all have opinions as to which ones we like, or in some cases, just the one we really don't like, Chris. And then, and then we want to get back our opinion on which one you like. So what we're going to do is tomorrow, there's going to be a poll that goes live on the Backer Kit page. Where we're going to ask you to vote, and don't worry about color. So we have samples from the printer in some cases in different colors. We're going to show you some zoom ins here in a sec, and it's going to be about the texture, not the color. And the thing I have to say is we want your input, but we can't guarantee we're going to follow it, mostly because we might say to the printer, hey, do this texture in orange. And then they tell us, oh, the factory stopped making that shade of orange, or, oh, we can't get that orange because the factory's out of stock or whatever. So we'll consider your input. We'll try to make it part of the conversation, but it's also possible we won't be able to execute to that. But either way, we want your opinion. So let's show you guys some textures and see what you like.
Mm-hmm.
So Elena, can you bring up Pythor, the texture?
Damn you, Pythor!
Yeah.
The Masters of the Universe character, if I ever heard one.
Uh-huh.
He-Man fought him at least once, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Right?
it's really cool.
Although it's almost like more like Thundercats. Remember they were always like Panthro, Lion-O,
And in
Tigra.
In G.I. Joe, it was Serpentor, wasn't it?
Serpentor, yes.
I was gonna say Pythor is like Serpentor is like underling. He's like the Serpentor, you know, right?
Unless like the shoeshine guy.
Unless it's spelled P-I-E, then it's Pythor. It's just a guy going around, you know, scarfing down your apple pie.
Which is just bakeries. Bakery goods.
Yeah, he's got. Oh, I saw the texture up for a second, and then it. Did
it come up?
Yep.
All right, so we're pulling up Pythor, everybody, which is the same. This is like the printer. I don't know, the whatever company makes this stuff. This is what they call it, and it's the actual texture used on Denizens 1, and it's kind of like a snake hide, I guess. How would you describe it, guys? Lizard hide, snake hide.
Yeah,
almost Python-esque, I would say.
Oh.
Based on your extensive Python experience, Mike.
Exactly.
I think it's more of an anaconda.
Well, it's not flaky crust, so it's not the other pie.
Right, it's not the good pie. It's the bad pie.
Not the pie filled with delicious cream.
I went to a birthday party recently for the 7-year-olds, and they had like a snake guy who brought this like 4-foot long. I can't remember the name of it. Some sort of constrictor, boa constrictor python, and I wore it on my neck. You got to wear it on your neck, you know. And of course, it's immediate instinct just to like crush your neck. But luckily, he was like a big guy who could control it, and it wasn't strong enough to like kill you, but it was enough to make you. After a couple minutes of posing for the photo, you're like, I'm blacking out. You know?
Yeah, that's funny. I have one of those too. From one time I went to that's something with my kids, and I was chosen to be the snake neck guy. So yeah, I have that photo too.
Yeah.
I have a picture of me and a bunch of friends from college who went to Spooky World, which was America's horror theme park in Massachusetts. And Spooky World is no longer in existence, but they had like a big, like 8-foot python or something like that. So they had like 6 of us in a row holding it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool. Those things are heavy, man. I mean, they're like a couple 100 pounds, especially.
Probably all muscle.
The story I heard was actually that python from Spooky Core that we've adorned the books with this last time around. And actually it was made into the
this was Jimmy.
It's been repurposed.
Jimmy is no more.
Yep.
And that's why the world shut down, because their main attraction was made into Monster High. There you go.
It could be the case.
It makes for great RPG books.
Yeah.
They discovered they can make more money breeding snakes for monster books. So,
that's cool.
Anyway, so that's Pythor, clearly a popular option among this crowd. And Elena, I think the next option was Thermo Alligator, and Chris, I think you statted this up.
It's gotta be, the Thermo Gator appears in the book, so I'll be personally hurt if we don't choose this one.
Mm-hmm.
The name alone, like this is the actual printer's name, Thermo Gator. Like how cool is that? You know?
Yeah, that is cool.
It says Thermo Alligator on the bottom of every sample. It's like in the color code.
Yeah. And
I guess this is what alligator hide is like.
Hope so.
Yeah. Well, bumpier.
I mean, it's not thermodial, so you know it's not crocodile.
I guess there could also be what's the word for cold? Cryo gator.
Cryodial,
That's a whole nother stat box.
Chocodile.
Crocodile. Oh,
This is
There's glass of
crocodile.
gas, right?
man.
This is
Go for it,
strawberry dial.
Chocodile.
Makes me think of Choco Tacos. I ate a lot of those in college. They had them in like the whatever it was, the campus cafe or something.
Chocodiles were chocolate Twinkies.
I never had a Chocodile. Maybe that was
really?
like
It was a Twinkie that was dipped in chocolate.
Whoa, they actually sold that
dude.
like
It's a Twinkie to the next level. There's still probably some sitting around on a store shelf somewhere.
I remember riding my bike to the corner variety store where I get my comic books, and
you get
every now and then had
a
enough
Chocodile.
lawnmower money to get a Chocodile on top.
I used to go to the 7-Eleven. It had a couple arcade games, comic books, and people would remember Bazooka Joe. For some reason, that they sold a lot of Bazooka Joe. I can't believe people would do this, but they would unwrap it, look at the cartoon, and throw it away and just eat. For me, like the cartoon was more important than the actual bubble gum. But I would always go through the parking lot because I could always find like 5 discarded cartoons. If I looked in the litter in the parking lot, and I would always collect those.
That's great. There was a question in the chat though. The one we just showed, the Thermogator, is that metallic silver? Or is it a gray color? That was the second of the options that we showed.
This is gray. I didn't even ask about metallics, but they would. It's certainly possible. But I kind of like how we use the foil. Like if you did a foil on top of a metallic, you kind of have to have a dark shade. There has to be contrast,
Right.
Let me see if I can get the foil to reflect here. You can see a little bit of it here.
Totally,
it's reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So doing some kind of a foil technique is an option, even if the surface itself isn't metallic looking. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're saying like a metal Thermogator is not, beyond the realm of possibility here.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
The Cyber Thermogator.
Bionic.
Cybergator.
Just got a new monster for Dungeon Con. Nice.
And that's even better than the Choco Taco or the Chocodilla. There was no Cyber Choco Taco.
Cyber Choco Taco.
I bet it's easier to eat the Chocodile though than it is to eat the Cyber Thermogator though.
That's true. So if you're coming to Dungeon Con and you're in Matt's game, you just found out one of the monsters you're going to fight.
You're right.
All right.
We'll stop attacking adventurers for Choco Tacos.
Okay. All right. Now let's try Thermocosti. I'm not actually sure. I can ask the printer what the official pronunciation is, but this is more like a. I don't know my reptiles well enough. It just looks like another kind of reptile skin.
I don't
know what
that's more lizard-like. I don't know.
Based on your extensive knowledge, that time you went to Lizard World and held a Komodo dragon with your buddies.
Yeah, right. Right. And
where's the reptile professor when we need one, right?
Yeah, if only we had one of those.
Exactly. I know. Exactly. Yeah, so Thermocosti. So your options so far: Pythor, which is like that, snake skin; Thermoalligator, self-explanatory; Thermocosti, which is this, I guess, lizardy.
Yeah.
And my thermococcyx. That's it.
There you go. You get a little, yeah.
That's cool. I know we're not supposed to get attached to colors at this point, but there is something about how there was red ink on the original series, and wonder if we reversed that and went with like a red background with black ink on top. Kind of did a switcheroo.
So you're saying like take this one, but did black
art on top of a.
This is foil as opposed to ink. I don't know if you can put ink here.
Yeah.
The way the technique, it'd have to be a foil, and I don't know. Maybe they make a black. I have that giant catalog of foils. I don't actually know if they make a black foil.
I don't know either.
Yeah, we could do a mock-up and see. It doesn't, but it wouldn't necessarily have it wouldn't be reflective and like.
Right. Yeah, there's something special about working on that really dark, like you said, that black surface, and then choosing colors that really pop on it and feature the foil. Yeah.
But we could look. Matt and I both have these catalogs from the printer, which is like hundreds of colors of foil. They're really cool. And we could look for a foil that pops against this. That could be interesting.
I think when you gave me that book, you said this is the most expensive book that you're going to own
Right.
because with all the samples in there, I can't imagine. But
They
true.
cost hundreds of dollars. Like the printers, once they really get to know you, I have a bunch that say belongs to so and so, please return, which clearly I didn't return.
Right.
Initially, they loan them out to you, and then if you do enough business with them, they finally like give you one.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
That's funny.
All right. So and then the next one, let's show Elena, let's show Thermopalm. And then this one, you can't even see it here. It's very subtle, just like bumps, I guess. And that's not even showing on Zoom. Hopefully it shows in the screen there.
Yeah, we can see it on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
This is almost like human skin texture.
Yeah.
You know, like
Mhm.
this is from that time Mike went to, oh, wait.
You had my attention. Now you have my interest.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like wrinkly, you know? I don't think it looks
Mhm.
like any particular monster. It's just wrinkly and like when you remember when you got a magnifying glass when you were a kid and you looked at your skin? This just
Mhm.
kind of looks like that.
The
Mhm.
AARP edition, right?
We'll do gray foil with like a white tuft at the top.
Mhm.
And then the book, it'll be printed at a slight angle so it always falls over. Sorry. Okay. All right, then the last option. Okay. The last option. This is Chris's favorite. Chris, would you like to tell us about Thermowaxy?
Yeah,
Which
it's
is the
just what it
official
sounds
name?
like. Exactly what it sounds like. Thermowaxy. So this is if we did a book on candles, this is exactly so.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a waxy,
Yeah,
waxy
doesn't
texture.
look anything like an animal or a monster or a
Mhm.
palm tree or anything.
Yeah, this if it was like a book of the undead, this would be the perfect
Yeah.
perfect thing.
It does actually have that crinkly.
Yeah,
What's that word? Crepe like that they used to describe like very old skin. It does.
Beneath the dessert
paper.
scene, grape like.
Yeah.
Are never bad news. That's funny. Books covered in human skin are never bad news.
Yeah.
Wendy says.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally fine. Totally fine.
It is like an ancient grimoire. Actually, for the right book, this might be cool, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have that monster
Mhm.
vibe, really.
Mhm.
Mummy wrapping.
If
Mhm.
only there was some monster themed, some magic themed book in the near future or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no,
Mummy wrapping. That's not bad.
there you go.
It does kind of
Literally
actually look like
wrap
mummy
it-
wrapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally wrap it up like a
Mhm.
mummy.
So tell us in the chat, everybody, what's your favorite? So tomorrow we're going to take a poll live where you can actually vote. But if just based on what you've seen here, what do you guys think is the one you'd want to see your book bound in if you're getting the foil one?
Nice.
Unofficial straw poll here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very cool.
And nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
They're all
Nobody has
thinking.
strong opinions. Oh, they're trying to
Oh.
remember the names.
Yeah.
I can't get over the pythor, the alligator skin. Yeah.
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 See, Thermogator is where it's at. I'm gonna put
Exactly.
my vote in.
We kind of presented these in a we skewed the vote a little bit in how we presented them. We showed our favorites first. Thermogator. Yeah. Yeah. Part of me doesn't want to do Pythor because we did it on the first one and I want to try
Sure.
something different.
Agree.
But
Yeah.
on the other hand, there is this sort of uniformity. And then if we
Mhm.
do a third one, we're kind of stuck with Thermocossi, I guess, because nobody liked the other ones.
Mhm.
Or maybe back to Pythor.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
vote
Maybe there's
There's a lot of
one
maybe
vote.
there's a skink version that we could look into.
skin version. Salamander.
Salamander.
like a horny toad. Like it's
Yeah.
all spiky and everything. That'd be
Yes.
really cool. That's
Really
like
strong.
have to wear special gloves when you're handling your book,
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see what the votes are when we take the poll live. But based on this straw poll, it sounds like Thermogator will probably come in tops, maybe with Pythor. Oh, fish scales would be. I didn't
Yeah,
ask.
fish scales would be
I
good.
asked the printer about I was like, let me get some, reptile skin. I didn't say, do you also have fish?
Yeah.
Mhm.
For the next book, I can ask about fish.
There were like books and fish. They mix perfectly well.
Yes.
If Chris has his way, Dungeon Denizens 3 will be all like aquatic animals.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
The book is writing itself.
And that's where the fish scale cover comes in.
We
There
could
we
do
go.
this.
Yeah.
Only 10% of the people would ever use it.
That's
All right,
funny.
cool. Well, thanks everybody. I just realized it's 9:45. We got a couple more topics to cover. So we're gonna duck out for just a sec, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk magic items for 5e, and then
Woohoo.
backer submitted monsters. So back in a
Nice.
sec, everybody.
Hey, we're
All
back.
right, we're back.
Yes.
And we're talking
Yeah.
about monsters, or sorry, magic items.
Magic
And
items.
Chris, tell
Yeah.
us about the Flumph and all his cool stuff.
So yeah, so we actually got a request on in the comments. I think it was over the weekend. It's like we haven't talked about the magic item book much, so here we are to chat about the magic item book. So this is a just for 5e 300 plus magic items that we've had created. So this was really fun. We basically just put the call out to all of the writers that we work with. And I think it was like 22 or 23 of them came back able to design magic items for us. It was really neat. So we have a chapter, we have everything. We got potions, we got scrolls, we got rods, staffs, wands, wondrous items, armor, weapons, the whole 9 yards. Artifacts, we have artifacts in there too, all hosted by our Flumph, who we introduce in the beginning of the book. And there were some challenges. It's kind of hard to come up with good scrolls and potions. So I want to share a couple of the magic items that we came up with. So the first one I want to talk about is the Elixir of Elixirs. This was a really, really creative take on a potion. So it's a potion, magic potion of a clear liquid. If you drink it, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. But if you take the elixir of elixirs and pour it into a bottle that had a potion in it, it magically duplicates and turns into that potion, which is fascinating because most of your characters are not going to do that, and they're going to drink it and they're going to waste it. So it got kind of neat. And then there was a cool variant that the author created, that the poison of poisons, where it's kind of the same thing. It's a poison. It's not poison, but then when you put it in a vial where you've emptied the poison out of, it'll turn into that vial of poison.
That's cool.
Now that was kind of cool. That was kind of interesting. Like I said, potions were kind of tricky. A lot of potions are just basically what spell effects are. So we kind of, they thought out of the box with that one a little bit. The next one that was really kind of neat, the Nose Ring of Fury. And this was a really cool thematic thing, but also kind of neat. So with rings is interesting. You can only have one ring on each hand. This ring, in order for it to work, it has to be pierced and on your nose. So it actually gives you the option to have a third ring, which that alone is kind of neat.
That is cool.
And then, but obviously, everybody thinks like the bull and basically the big nose ring, and that's probably what it is. It's this big hunkering thing that dangles down in that. But it basically lets you a couple times a day enter a rage like a barbarian. But it also gives you a charge attack where you can actually charge into an opponent and knock them prone. So I think it's kind of cool. It's thematic. Cool. It's different. It's like a little bit, out there, but kind of neat. So, but anyway, anybody in the chat, if you guys have great magic item ideas, it's too late for this book, but you never know down the road. But if you guys have a cool ideas, there's what's another good one? The Arrow of Returning. So all of you D&D folks out there who use your arrow, you know that when you use a magic arrow, when it hits, it's done. It's a one-shot kind of a deal. It's over. It uses its magic up and everything. But this arrow doesn't go. Well, it does go away, but it's a +5 arrow, which is amazing. But then at the end of the day, it'll reappear back in your quiver, so you can use it again tomorrow. So it's only a one-shot thing, but you will get it back. So which is kind of neat. I'm guessing it gets stuck in a critter and.
Oh, could be. Yeah. I was going to say I had some friends when we were young who played Arrow of Returning too, but that was more like just shooting the bow up in the air and run in different directions. Yep. I think that was a little different.
A little bit different.
Those arrows did return for sure.
Yeah. They definitely did. So, and what was another? So we have the arrow of Gorgon Blight, which is basically an arrow, but when it hits its target, the target starts turning into stone. Kind of neat. So I'm putting that one there.
That's cool.
And then we had one particular author who tried to make their items off of puns or kind of sayings and stuff like that. So we have the bag of cats. So playing off the line about you don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Well, in this instance, you do want to let the cat out of the bag, probably. It's basically like a bag of tricks. But every time you open it up and you can pull out a fuzzy ball and you throw it, and it's going to be a random type of cat. It could be a house cat. It could be a tiger. It could be a displacer beast. However, since a lot of cats are very indifferent, there's only a 40% chance the cat will listen to you and actually do what you want it to do. It might just rub up against your legs and totally like ignore you. So, so possibly a cursed item there, maybe not. And there's also interesting variants. You got the bag of hounds and the bag of equines, so you can kind of figure out what comes out of those bags. So. Yeah, so that's a bunch of the items that we have that are coming. So again, 300 plus, all unique, all original items, artifacts, the whole 9 yards, and they're all organized by chapter, and all hosted by our wonderful Flumph archivist. So we are excited to bring this book to you. It's in editing right now. And we're really excited to put this one together. And I cannot remember the last time the team has had this much fun putting a book together. I mean, it's like it's been great. So I'm assuming that means folks who grab the book are gonna even enjoy it even more. So
nice.
That's awesome. To answer a quick question in the chat, this book is 5e only. We may do some version of this for DCC. We've been talking about DCC Annual Volume 2, or maybe in the yearbook or something like that. But we're dipping our toes in the water here by trying it out for 5e first. And there's plenty of DCC options, including like a leather bound and the variant cover and the Tomes of Adventure and all these other things on this project for the DCC fans.
Yep, perfect.
And actually, we're short on time, and we still have to talk about backer submissions. So we're going to disappear, and Matt is going to transmute into Mike, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So everybody, in these last 5 minutes, we're going to talk about one of the stretch goals, which is allowing backers of Denizens 2 to submit monsters to the project. What we did in the first volume was regular buyers got the first, whatever it was, hundreds and hundreds of pages. And then there were 16 bonus pages sewn into the crowdfunding edition in the back, which was a special appendix of monsters submitted by backers. So we're going to do that again. So as of right now, we have unlocked, I think it's 12 submissions, if I remember correctly. And it's based on yeah, backer count. We're very close to the next tier of whatever it is, more submissions. But either way, there's a lot of slots open for backers to send in submissions. So that means as soon as we post the submission guidelines, which is like minutes away, you will have all the guidelines you need, and you can send in your ideas for monsters. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and Mike to talk about what that means and how backers can possibly get their monster and their name printed in the book.
And we are just within sight of 14 backers. Currently, we're at 12.
Okay.
But, we're all of about with a couple more thousand. We're going to be there. So
Nice.
So we will be so basically the process is we are going to be looking for one monster submission from each person. So we're asking for one at a time. This will all be explained in the guidelines that we'll be posting imminently. So we are going to be looking for the DCC side of a monster that's no more than 500 words, and for the 5e I think it's like 700 about there or
600
something.
words. We're going trimming it down 600 words.
Yep. So we're going to put those together, and we will go through them, and we are looking. We've kind of said some of the things we don't want. So what we do ask is you to put some thought into this, because one thing we've learned, if it takes you 30 seconds or less to come up with a monster, chances are not only has somebody else already thought of it, but it's already been done. So, and as you can see from, you're already up against the tongue taker and the goblin spawn and other stuff. So just another version of a zombie is not going to hack it. So we really ask you to put your creative, your thinking caps on for this one. No.
Yep. So, and you submit it in whichever rule set that you are most comfortable with, because one of the things we're going to be checking is to make sure you understand the rules of the rule system. So if you're really, really good at DCC, please submit us a DCC monster. If you're really good at 5e, submit us that. If we accept your monster, there will be both versions of each. We'll have our team internally convert the monster to the other one. It's exactly the way that we did it last time. So everybody, there will be, if we accept the 5e monster, everybody, the DCC folks are still going to get that monster too. Very, very important. Follow the instructions. We're going to post a link to our website, which is going to have the submission guidelines in it. Also some samples of both 5e and DCC monsters that are already put together, but then also our style guide for each of the stat boxes. So make sure you look at the stat, make sure you send us exactly what we were asking for, because last time we got over 100 submissions and we only took 20. And one of the first things we look at is, did they follow the instructions? Did they follow the rules? If they don't, they automatically go up to the back of the pack, because we that's how we basically do our first cut. So follow the instructions, come up with cool monster ideas, send them to us. And then hopefully you'll get published.
And just to throw it out there, some people say, well, I have a beautiful, imaginative, incredible monster. Why do I have to follow your guidelines? You know, it's an incredible idea. And the reason is these are team publications. It's not like there's one person working on this. You can see right here, we have Mike and Chris, so they have to coordinate on format. There's hundreds of other people, not maybe not hundreds, dozens of other people contributing. So we need consistency. Then when it goes to Matt's team on the art side and the layout starts, it really helps if everything's in the same format so the graphic designer can place them easily. The artists, when they get art briefs, it's extremely helpful when there's consistency in format and everybody's not all over the board with my monster's different. So I wrote it a different way. There's so many aspects of RPG publishing that are basically team formatting. So we need to make sure the format is right. So we know that you can work as a team member, team player, and work with us to make an amazing book that requires contributions from dozens of people.
Yes, keep in mind, everybody, and we mean everybody who picks up a copy of the book, needs to be able to use your monster, and everybody needs to be speaking the same rules language, if you will. And yes, you do have to write up the full stat block. So if you're talking about 5e, that big long thing that you see in the monster manual, we need the whole thing. Plus, we need several paragraphs of lore attached to that as well. And that whole thing needs to be either 500 words or less, or 600 words or less. So you have to figure a way to get your concept down to a digestible amount of content. So we can't have, one person submit 5,000 words of content for their one monster, even though that monster might be awesome. We can't do that. So
But we are generally looking for lower power monsters, so you're not going to worry about writing up a stat of like a demon lord or anything like that. So that's an adequate amount of word space to do that. And if you prove you can do that, then you also kind of get to the short list of we keep you in mind for other stuff down the line. So this is one way to weed out people who can't follow directions, or there's a method to all of our madness.
Yep. And to follow up with Wendy, yes, there is a separate style guide for both 5e and DCC. There's also separate examples for each. The initial submission guidelines, there's just one document for that. So when you click that link, you'll see that there will be 5 different PDFs that you can grab so you can see all the instructions. We're opening this up starting today. The deadline will be midnight Eastern Standard Time, April 23rd. That is 3 weeks from today, and that is a week after the campaign ends. We need to get on these monsters, pick the whatever number, 14, 16, 20 that we're going to be using, and then we need to get them through the process. They need to get converted. So we don't want to we want to minimize holding up the publication of the main book to handle these. So that's why we need a really, really quick turnaround time with these. And we will not be accepting any that come in after midnight Eastern Time on the 23rd, unfortunately.
Because we also have to commission full colored illustrations for all of it as well. So
yes.
It's not
that takes time. So
it will be not only a chance to see your monster in print, but also rendered by one of our very talented artists. Or maybe me, if we're running really behind.
Or it's just going to look like a piece of Thermogator.
Exactly.
We need alligator themed monsters.
Yes. And no Thermogators. We already have a Thermogator. So if you submit a Thermogator, you're already discontinued.
So with that in mind, don't submit any invisible monsters unless we're running really behind. Then the invisible monster may be the one that gets in. Because...
Yeah, probably don't need any tongue monsters either. Just throwing it out.
All right, I got to go for something. Thanks, everybody. If you're looking for the submission guidelines, I think either Chris or Mike is going to post a comment on the Dungeon Denizens 2 page and pin it to the top in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And then tomorrow's update is going to be about voting on your reptile hide. But then Friday's update will dive into more details on the submission process. And by then you'll have had time to read it. So feel free to respond to that update or Chris's post or Mike's post with any questions you may have. But thank you, everybody.
You have extra time if you've been watching this video. So
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You got a head start. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you
Bye.
later.